Welcome to the fourth session of the Atmanirbhar Bharat Summit by Rishihood University and Rashtram School of Public Leadership. We have with us a very interesting topic of Atma and Atmanirbharta. What is the spiritual basis to Atmanirbharta? And to speak on this, we have Dr. Chinmay Pandya, who is an educationist, medical doctor, and spiritual seeker. He did his medical studies in Dehradun and then went to United Kingdom for post-graduation, where he completed his membership at the Royal College of Psychiatrists. Uh, a desire to serve his motherland made him return to India and joined Dev Sanskriti Vishwavidyalaya in Haridwar. He is the chairperson of the International Festival of Yoga, Culture and Spirituality. We are honored to have him as a spiritual patron to the Rashtram School of Public Leadership. Over to you, Chinmayji, for this very interesting topic of Atma and Atmanirbharta.
Good morning to all of you and my respectful pranams from Shantikunj, Haridwar. This message that I am sending to you, unfortunately unable to join you live, but this message is reaching to you. And this message is reaching to you from the foothills of mighty Himalayas and from the lap of Maganga and from the tranquil surroundings of Shantikunj, Haridwar, which is the headquarters of all world Gayatri Parivar. I take this opportunity to extend a heartfelt invitation to all of you to join us in this ashram next to Maganga and in the foothills of Himalayas. This message is reaching to you on a very special occasion, on this very important theme of Atmanirbhar Bharat that is being organized. This summit is being organized by the Rashtram Institute of Public Leadership and also from Rishihood University. Both of the institutions are so close to our heart because the work that they are doing is unbelievable, astonishing, and amazing. Because very few institutions in India are working straight for the heart of India, and they are among those institutions for whom we have got utmost reverence, respect, admiration, because the work that Sahilji and Adarni Shri Sureshji have been doing and their team has been doing is beyond imagination, beyond comprehension. We have got great respect and admiration for that. And this message that I am sending on this occasion, this brief message, is unfortunately coming in one of the most exceptional circumstances because we are witnessing a global shutdown, a historic travesty has created those circumstances, and that is of the global pandemic of novel coronavirus infection. And in these uncertain times, where pain and loss and grief and suffering and uncertainty and confusion have created very precarious circumstances, millions of people have been infected, and thousands of people have lost their lives. And in these times, our collective prayers and our faith in humanity, it proves to be most important and most significant aspect and attempt than ever before. And in these challenging times, when I contemplate upon this important theme that has been chosen by Rashtram Institute of Public Leadership and Rishihood University, I was thinking, or rather I was inviting you to make note of an exceptional worldview that in my opinion has slowly been developing all across the globe in last century. I would call that a paradigm shift. And this paradigm shift, like Thomas Kuhn said, in the global mindset, it has started to become much more apparent as the developmental viewpoint of humanity. It has started to shift more towards technological advancement. Because as we started to become much more advanced in the fields of science and technology, somehow we started to neglect our inner contentment more in that pursuit. The rift started to become bigger and bigger. Money, but at the cost of satisfaction. This became like the scene of the world. And this created scenes of innermost chaos, confusion, conflict, disillusionment, dissatisfaction, and fear. And these scenes, they started to become much more noticeable than ever before. I remember a beautiful story of Chhatrapati Shivaji. his right hand, Dayoji Pant, he went to conquer the fort of Singhgad because Jijabai really loved that fort. And he went to conquer that on the day of his marriage. He got the fort, but unfortunately lost the life. But Jijabai got the news before, so she heard the news that we have got the fort. She was ready to welcome Chhatrapati Shivaji, and she was in the mood of celebration. But when she saw the face of Chhatrapati Shivaji, he was despondent, he was dejected. So she was surprised. She said, "What happened, Shiva?" And Shivaji said, "I, Gad hala, but Singh gela." That we got the fort, but lion is gone. Dayoji Pant was gone. Same is the situation of today. We have got so much of luxury, so much of wealth, and so much of money, but contentment is gone, satisfaction is gone. And we don't have to be a rocket scientist or Nobel laureate to notice that the pain and the suffering and stress and tension and loneliness that each and every individual seem to be subjected to in these days. I don't think that much of anguish was there even at the battlefields of last century. I mean, we don't have to ask anyone, we ask ourselves. Now when we have got so many things, are we really happy? Are we genuinely satisfied? Do we really have the lives as we pretend over the Facebook? This world of technological supremacy, it came at a cost of disoriented human aspiration and loss of inner contentment. On one hand, we have got huge houses to live in, but on the other hand, families are gone. On one hand, we have reached to the moon, but on the other hand, we have forgotten ourselves. And worst of all, we have populated the earth but annihilated the humanity. Compassion is gone. Greed and decline, they seem to rule the planet. And this happened, I remember reading Viktor Frankl in The Search of Meaning, and he said such a beautiful thing. He said that this happened because for long we have been dreaming a dream from which we are just waking up. The dream that if we just improve the socio-economic status of the people, then everything would be okay. People would be miraculously happy, problem solved, holy grail, we have found it. Truth is different. Truth is that as struggle for survival gets subsided, I can survive now, then the real questions of the life, they start to emerge. Survival for what? People now have means to live, but no meaning to live for. And this is the thing that we require when we talk about Atmanirbhar Bharat. Atmanirbhar Bharat would give us the means to live. And Atmanirbhar Bharat that Sahil ji asked me to talk about, it would give us the meaning to live for. And this is the worldview that I am talking about. This emerging worldview is based on a central perception, and that central perception comes from the teaching and ethos of all major religions of the world, which is to find the meaning and purpose behind this adventure that we call as the human life. Because the salient spiritual teachings, they continue to remind us that we as human beings are born with the capabilities and possibilities for a greater life than most of us would ever realize. Even if we cannot find the scientific proof to validate it, we can always feel the sacred connection. We can always perceive this divine potential, that our existence is unfolding from a higher, supreme, transcendental source, and our lives continue to carry an unmanifested purpose, which is Gurudev called as latent divinity. Manushya mein devatva ka uday and dharti par swar ka avtaran. That is what he said. He said everyone is a lost divine. If we can remember the divinity within, if we can connect with the Atman, Atmanirbhar, then in that moment there is no other heaven we have to look for. It's right here. If all can remember the harmony, if all can remember the meaning, if all can remember the purpose, if everyone is guided by their latent divinity, there is no other heaven that we have to look for. Our lives carry most important message, which is the message of meaning, message of awakening. And these awakenings that have inspired the world, they mostly come from, in Sanskrit we call as the Agam sources, like people who have reached to the heightened consciousness, their visions. And their visions and practices of these pathfinders are available to us now in great abundance. In the ancient times, scriptures were not available to everyone. Only certain group of people can access them. So only certain group of people could read Vedas, Upanishads, Shastras. But now they are available to everyone. And now when the information is available at our fingertips and to everyone, then rather than finding clarity, we appear to be more confused than ever before. And this is the reason because we somehow lost the central message of finding our own meaning and purpose in the life. Human beings are unique. Human beings are somewhere between animal and divine. If we start to descend, if we start to decline in our life's goal, then we can be so primalistic that apart from thinking about primal passions and perishable desires, there is nothing else that we can do in our life. And some people, they can ascend so much in their consciousness that there is no difference between them and the divinity. एक तरफ गिरें तो हम जानवर हैं, एक तरफ उठें तो परमात्मा बन जाते हैं. On one hand we can become Angulimal, on the other we can become Buddha. Both windows are available to us, and this is the beauty that only human beings have. I remember reading a very beautiful story, and the story is of a man who read, that next to the river that is flowing from his village, there are millions of stones, and one of the stones is the stone of Paras. And Paras is a mythological stone. So, if you touch that stone to anything, or Paras to anything, that thing would turn into gold. He wanted to have it, but how would he found? So many stones, they all look similar. So he made a habit. Every morning he would go, he would take a stone, touch in the iron powder that he was carrying in the left hand, touch it here, throw in the water. If it turns into gold, fine. Otherwise, throw the stone back into the water. Otherwise, he would have to pick the same stone again and again. So every morning he was doing the same thing. A week went, fine. Week he could remember that why I am picking it up, why I am touching it here, and why I am throwing it back into the water. But after a week he forgot, why he was doing it. So every morning he was doing, and it became a habit. Just life becomes a habit. So every morning he was picking it up, touching it here, throwing in the water. And months went, years went, 20 years went, and 20 years later, one day he picked up the stone, touched it here, threw in the water, and then saw this turned into gold, but the stone was gone. He had the gold, the stone was gone. Same is with the human life. Before we realize that what was the purpose, what was the meaning, what was the reason why we came on this planet, it is gone. Checkout notice has been served, and we have to leave now. For us to be awake at the right moment is the real sense of creating the Atmanirbhar individual. We have to be guided by our own meaning and purpose. We feel misplaced, we feel unsatisfied, we feel unsatiated because we are yet to discover our real identity. But this imperfection that we feel, this shall not worry us because it is more like a privilege and also a promise. It confirms that in us, a force is still trying to find its consciousness, and our nature is still trying to discover its spirit. We are lost because we are trying to search outside, not where it is, here in Atma. There is a very beautiful story written by Maxim Gorky, and it's a story of a farmer. And he heard, that in Siberia they are giving land for free. He wanted to have it. So he went to the village and he said, "Are you giving land for free?" He said, "Absolutely free." The elder of the village said, "Absolutely free." He said, "So what should I do to get it?" He said, "Nothing. In the morning when the sun would rise, we give you 4 flags, you run. As much as you can run in the north, go and plant one east, another one west, another one south. We are standing. Whatever you cover belongs to you." And this man was surprised. He thought, "That's it." Elder of the village said, "That's it." He said, "How come no one has won anything so far?" He said, "You run tomorrow morning, you will know." So next day morning, the moment sun rose, he started to run. More he ran, more greedy he became. He thought it all belongs to me. So he said, "Why am I running with the food?" He threw away his lunch. He said, "I can go far without food." Water, throw away, I can go far. Clothes, he took it down, I can go far. 2 o'clock he remembered that I was supposed to plant a flag. So he planted one east, another one west, another one. Gorky has written that sun was setting, energy was gone, running without food, water, clothes in the Siberia. No energy left. Sun set and he collapsed 6 feet before the finish line. When he regained the consciousness, whole village was gathered there. They were clapping. Oh, you came too far. And he looked at bewilderment with all of them. They said, you came too far. All others became so greedy they never returned. They are still planting the flags. And this man is still thinking that he will get something. So he said, what would you do with this land left between my fingertips and the finish line, the 6 feet land? And Gorky has written that the elder of the village said, we will bury you there, waiting for you to die. That's the only land you take. Everyone is running. Life becomes a race. Before we realize, we are part of the race. Just because we see everyone else running, we think that we also are supposed to run. And then when we are not getting anything, we think probably because we did not run fast enough. Or maybe our speed needs to be changed or our direction needs to be changed. It never occurs to us that what we are trying to search for is inside us. Atman. Atmanirbhar. And for that, we would need to stop and dwell within. I remember the beautiful story of Angulimal and Buddha. When Angulimal was trying to, run behind Lord Buddha, as most of you would know, Anguli means finger, Mal means pendant. So he was killing the people, chopping their fingers off and making a pendant. And he could not get hold of Lord Buddha. So he was running and could not get hold of. So he shouted, he said, hey monk, where are you running? Because all his effort could not take him to Lord Buddha. And Lord Buddha replied, said, who is running? I stopped a long time ago because I found myself. The one who finds himself is called Buddha. And immediately Angulimal realized that I am running for no reason. And this finding ourselves, it happens if we are able to connect with our consciousness. If we are able to transform our consciousness. There is a beauty in Sanskrit. In Sanskrit we use two words, Akriti and Prakriti, Sanrachana and Chetana, external and internal. So structure may change, structure may not change, but consciousness changes. If Gurudev becomes Gurudev, Vivekanand becomes Vivekanand, outside nothing changes, but their consciousness is transformed. And this consciousness that is also the feature of Rishihood University of self-transformation. This transformation takes place from within. And the reason I use the word consciousness, because whatever I just talked about, everyone is aware of it and everyone is desperate to find a solution too. But unfortunately, to seek the solution, we continue to pay emphasis upon external measures, changing the law, regulations and acts. But you can't accomplish that by making a law. There is no law that can give birth to Buddha. There is no law by implementing that you would have everyone becoming like Krishna, Ram, Patanjali, Kabir, Ramanujan, Madhva. For that, we have to change from within. For that, we have to have a self-transformation. And this change takes place not from any external measure. It is not happening if I change my clothes or I dye my hair or I get tattooed. It's a qualitative change in our personality that allow consensus and the humanity to emerge. I would like to quote Gurudev, Pandit Shri Ram Sharma Acharya ji, and you would be surprised to know he authored more than 3,400 books in Hindi and Sanskrit and started this revolutionary movement called Vichar Kranti Abhiyan, Thought Transformation Movement, which now has close to 150 million members and thousands of centers worldwide. And he talked about self-transformation. He talked about the change to occur from within. Vyakti Nirman se Samaj Nirman. that unless the person would change from within, you can't have a changed family and you can't have a changed society. That has to happen from within. And in the current times, because current times look quite reasonably desperate and dark and gloomy, he talked about them in 1987. He said that while the current circumstances look dark and gloomy, they should not bring fear or despair to us. Rather, we should embrace them like a call of action. They are a sign that we are born at a time when entire humanity is called to accomplish a completely new level of collaboration between different nations, races, religions, sectors, and society, because the first time in the history, all the people of the world are called to work together as a single human family. I consider that as the reason, for this kind of summit to be organized, that if everyone can connect for the divinity within, Atmanirbhar, then not only the Bharat would be different, but the entire world would be different. And for entire world would be different, we need to reconnect with our latent divinity that lies within us. And if we have people like that, whose personalities are refined, whose personalities are embellished, then we can use the wealth that we would gain by Atmanirbhar Bharat for creating a society where personalities are in the center of it, where the upliftment is coming from within, where the light is ignited from within, where a fire is rekindled from within. And this is the world that we hope would take place. This is the India that we hope to happen in next 5 to 10 years. And this is our sincere wish to all of you. May the summit offer you the opportunity to connect with the latent divinity within and manifest it to cause of self-embellishment and social upliftment. My thanks and regards to all of you, and especially to Honorable Suresh Babuji and Honorable Sahil Agarwalji for organizing this wonderful summit. Pranams from Deva Sanskriti Vishwavidyalaya, Shanti Haridwar and Gayatri Parvar.